want to start off. I want to tell our listeners that there's going to be a lot of jokes here. Things are going to fly fast and furious. We do understand that people were obviously affected by this, and it sucks because some of these people, you know, their livelihood depends on this particular thing. But it's still funny. Like, it's still funny.
It is funny because people will not lose anything. In the end, everybody's going to be made whole. No one got hurt.
Right. And I will suggest a few things that I've seen online that kind of make me laugh about it. But so basically, if you haven't heard, this was the big story this week. Boutique Amp Distribution's LA facility burned to the ground.
I know.
It didn't just catch fire. It disappeared. Okay? It became an ash. It's a pile of ruin at this point.
Class Alpha fire. That thing was gone.
I mean, the image from the LA County Fire Department basically has some steel girders up, but basically everything else is either on fire or on the, like gone. You can see the racks where all the Freedmans were, and there's no Freedmans.
I did not know. Here's an interesting tidbit. I did not know that Wampler built their pedals there.
Yes.
Some of them.
Wampler,
so I guess it's more than just a West Coast distribution facility.
It's not not their pedals. Their amp.
The Bravado.
Yes, that's made there.
Oh, okay. That
so
makes more sense.
Brian Wampler has he's got a friendship with pretty much all these guys, Joe Morgan and Dave Friedman, so I don't know which one of them helped him design but I know he's got on loan from Dave Friedman some famous JCM 800 that Zach Wilde used that was modified by Dave. And so they all know each other real well. Anyway, so here's a funny part, right? So this place burns down, and my immediate reaction was like, oh, I honestly, I have no, listen, I buy Mesa Boogie amps. I mean, I've got 2 of them. If their place burned down, I would be like, that sucks. I mean, it means that there's going to be setbacks in production, but they're going to get everything taken care of. Even their business costs, the cost of the loss of business, as in them not being able to do business for 6 months, will be covered by their insurance if they have it. I would operate under the assumption that if they were able to rent a facility in the state of California, they probably have to cover a certain amount of business insurance as part of their license.
And there would have to be some kind of catastrophic cap to it, but still. And this is not act of God. You know what this is the stuff that I've been laughing about all week. Is people making jokes about how the fire happened, right? Apparently the fire happened next door.
Did it really?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Are we sure that nobody left the soldering iron on?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Well, you don't know what's next door. I don't know what's next door. What do they do next door? They bake cookies or something? I don't know. All I'm saying is allegedly the fire started next door, the building next to it. I'm not sure how close the buildings are. I didn't do that much research. And the truth is, I don't care. I mean, buildings burn down every day. We had a building burn down the street, and I was like, wow, that place burned down. And I don't even remember what it was. That's terrible. But
so there were more brands that I didn't realize.
Yeah, there was
Friedman, Wampler, Soldano, Egnator, Diesel, Matthews Effects, Tone King, Bogner, and Morgan. Now Bogner's not going to be affected much by this because Bogner has stuff overseas too. They have a really big overseas manufacturing plant. We call Germany it we joke about it and call it the sweatshop. It's somewhere in Eastern Europe. It's that kind of thing.
Austria.
Find the cheap labor and then you'll find it. It sucks.
So it's in what is it? Not Belize. What's the other one?
Somebody. Who knows? Somebody here is not going to reopen their business. Somebody in this group is going to say, you know what?
Somebody's going to cut their losses and say
I would rather go work, consulting for another company or get a position with somebody else than to try and rebuild my business from scratch.
Yep. Well, here's the thing that lifts. So for me, personally, I'm not a huge amp guy, guys. So if you guys were going to say, Jim, you should have known that, I'm not big enough into the production part of it to know. But I'll say this, because we're gonna lead into our next part here shortly, but about wood. But I personally, okay, I didn't know all these amps were made in the same place, and it's hard for me to believe. Now it is possible because it was a large structure. It's hard for me not to believe that a lot of these parts probably came off the exact same. That tells me Morgan and Diesel and Soldano and Friedman and all the others using the same people, doing the same things, the same stuff. They're probably pulling parts out of different bins.
Okay, all right. So that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. They pulled their resources to share the building and to share employees to build things, but they're still speccing their own gear and they're still buying their own parts. And
they're still pulling them out of their different bit. Oh, we're building a Morgan right now. Pull these.
Yeah,
these are the parts.
But it's not as though it's like a collective. It's not as though they're actually building. You know what I mean? Like they're not they're not building them out of the same parts. And I think that was the distinction I wanted to make.
Right, you might come in and work 70 hours for. This month, I did 80 hours for Friedman. I did 90 hours for, or 12. And it makes sense for somebody like Wampler, who only puts out, I don't know how many bravados a year. I mean, maybe he'll use that as an excuse to get out of it. I don't know. I don't know a single person that owns a bravado. I'm not saying they're good, bad amps. I'm just saying.
I want to say Morgan is actually making that for him, by the way. I don't know. So like they can say that's a home of their operation or whatever. It's not. And Jim, this is not so like this one burnt down, right? And everybody's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna lose all these brands. That's not gonna number one, that's not gonna happen. But number two is there was this other collective up in Oregon or Washington State where they were building like Two Rock and all that stuff about 10, 15 years ago called Premier Builders Guild.
Oh yeah.
And so this is kind of pulling back the curtain for a lot of people because I think they're starting to realize like that's not as boutique as I thought it was.
Yeah, see, that's my point.
I've been trying to tell everybody. Nobody listens to me.
I was picturing four people that work for Wampler who sit, with those big glass things and they're soldering little points and he's got like a little wood shed over here with air conditioning.
Not a single Wampler employee involved.
Yeah, so that kind of that's what that pulls the curtain back for me. It's not, and I never assumed for a minute that Friedman didn't have a bunch of people, but now it's like, it's like me. I do software, right? I do software stuff for several different types of software. So I have several silos. Right. And I'm the person at the top of the silo that sucks up all the gas, right? And come on in. And so I'm the one who gets to do this. So I'm not it's not that I'm not good at my job doing these different software distribution and deployments. But I don't know that one software as well as someone who did that one software all the time.
Right.
And I just don't know. And again, I don't know amps well enough. Someone who builds amps might tell me, Jim, it doesn't matter. You're soldering components to a board. You have a schematic. You put capacitor 6 into slots, whatever, which I've done before. So you're not telling me anything new. I don't know. It tells me that it's not as boutique as it was. Maybe the money that people, because when I was picturing that thing with Wampler, I'm going, wow, that's why the damn amp is so expensive, is because they're paying this person a lot of money and they're doing a lot of sitting around.
Now you're getting it.
Now
35. What is a
yeah, bravado?
No. What is a Friedman?
Milkman.
Dirty Shirley. Not what's the big one? The BE. The BE. The brown.
The BE.
Okay.
Yep.
So the BE 100 is a $4,000 amplifier.
Yeah.
And a $4,000 amplifier, normally in your head you get something in your mind like a train wreck, right?
Yeah.
But no, you've got a circuit boarded amp built in a warehouse by people that build Morgan and Tone King and Bogner, and you've got to kind of scratch your head at that point and go, what the fuck am I paying for?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
What are we? That's why I was pissed off, and I wouldn't buy any of those amps without like being real sharp about what I'm doing, because like Morgan has got reasonable prices. I know people say you're crazy, a $2,000 Princeton. That's what a hand-wired Princeton costs.
Not, right.
But a $4,000 JCM 800 with mods?
Yeah, that's where...
now you're pushing it, guys. So that's where I'm like, I watched this thing go down, and I'm like, this is going to pull back the curtain for a lot of people, and it did. But the funny thing is, like, it didn't do it in the way that I thought. It was like, oh, Friedman's going to be out. I can't buy a Friedman now. And the prices of Friedmans are going up on Reverb already. Like,
of course they are.
Which is hilarious.
Because we're Americans, and we can't wait 5 freaking minutes to get a freaking new amp. We can't wait a little while for them to go into another. Now, admittedly, they've got to wait because now supply lines aren't doing that great. That's what we should be moving into next, because that's our next thing. Yeah, they got to buy a bunch of capacitors and a bunch of transistors. And think about all the tubes that got destroyed. Those aren't as easy to replace as they used to be. We've got, a lot of things
I want to pick on one thing. I want to pick on one thing out of this.
Sure.
Dave Friedman, specifically, Friedman Amps.
Yeah.
They released their mini amp, and I have seen so many people like, this thing is wonderful, it's amazing. It is a piece of shit. And I can say that. I don't even want to hear it in person. I can hear it in clips, and I know exactly what it is. It is the distortion pedal running into a Class D amplifier that they purchased from the company that makes all of the Class D amplifiers that the audio industry is using right now. There is nothing special about this thing. It is no different than a Marshall Lead 12. It is no different than an MG. Yep. And people are freaking out over this thing. And it'll still be around. If you want one, you can still get one, because that didn't burn down here. That was made in China. Okay? And the Runt will still be available because that didn't burn down here. That's made in China. And I think the 2 mini amps are also made in China. So who cares? This stuff's not drying up. There's enough of these amps on the market already. Don't run out and buy one if the place burns down. If you're looking at buying a Friedman right now, like, just stop.
This is not the time to do it.
No, this is an awful time to do it.
Unless you get one that's new in stock from Sweetwater.
Dealers are not going to make deals on them.
They don't need to.
Used people are not going to want to sell them for cheap because they can make bank on them. So just forget it. Just move on. All right.
That's like buying Bitcoin at $60,000 a year.
Yeah,
or $60,000.
All
right.
So that's the boutique burn down.
That's right. Boutique burn down.